Hello and a virtual welcome. My name is Peter Anto Johnson, and today I'll be presenting on looking past the smoke, the rhino-orbital effects of particulate matter in children. As we can see in the image on the left here, there's a fire danger map which has been generated by the Natural Resources Canada organization. And based on this map, Saskatchewan, parts of British Columbia, Alberta, Manitoba, and the Northwest Territories have this extreme fire risk. And as a result, it's not a surprise that wildfires have broken out on numerous occasions and that there's a projected risk of wildfires. Fine particulate matter in particular, so PM 2.5, is the air pollutant that's driving most of the significant health problems that we're seeing. And it's a leading cause of premature mortality. Now, the PM 2.5 levels have been demonstrated to have adverse effects, particularly on the visual and rhinological systems, along with cardiovascular health. However, it's still critical to understand that there's limited evidence that actually characterizes its health effects in the population of children. As a result, the goal of this study was to design and perform a narrative review following these NTREC guidelines and perform a two-way logistic regression analysis interaction plot to determine these effects in children. As we can see here in the middle, these are the standardized health parameter guidelines that really we utilize to stratify the levels of exposure and the health risk in these included studies. Now, in our study, we obtained a total of 28 studies, and all of these studies were either retrospective or cross-sectional in design. And we looked at interaction terms. So essentially, these are the terms in their analysis that were mentioned. And using these terms, we were able to create an interaction plot as a function of the reported health concern according to this guideline here. Now, the results of our study showed that itchy and watery eyes and sneezing, as well as sore throat, were common associations that we saw with increased exposure to wildfire smoke or particulate matter. Now, these vulnerable cohorts, so children in particular, we saw that the effects of these exposures were heightened with pre-existing comorbidities such as asthma, COPD, or chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, coronary artery disease, and rhinitis. We also showed, using our interaction plot, there was a higher estimated positive risk for itchy and watery eyes and sore throat after wildfire exposure. Now, it's critical to understand that the clinical evidence about the rhino-orbital effects of particulate matter in children after wildfire exposure still remains scarce. And most of the studies consider rhino-orbital symptomology as derivative outcomes. So these are often secondary, tertiary, or quaternary outcomes. And recent studies have actually hypothesized the mechanism in children is based around inflammatory and allergy-mediated pathways. Now, as we can see here, the interaction plot shows that there are significant risks that wildfire smoke can precipitate. However, it is important to understand that a large majority of our studies were retrospective or cross-sectional in design. And as a result, there was limitations such as recall bias, inaccurate effect estimates, biparental self-reported data, and the children and affected adults were not always in the same study area. And as a result, there was also reduced statistical power. Ultimately, however, the results of our study suggest that increased particulate matter or wildfire exposure was associated with adverse rhino-orbital outcomes, particularly in our vulnerable population of children with comorbidities. Thank you so much for listening, and this work wouldn't have been possible without all the support we received from the Government of Canada, as well as the Antarctic Institute of Canada. Thank you.